Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Benjamin Breaker Novotny, and I am back with a replay that I found from sc2replaystats.com, and it is fantastic. I just randomly decided to take this one. I did my best to make sure that my eyes did not come in contact with the replay length, and that means this is basically a spoiler spree. Wow. Spoiler-free replay for you guys, but enough about that. In the lower left-hand corner of Inferno pools, we're going to be having a very daring, handsome devil. Belonging to Team Isubal, it is Devil. I guess there's a pun in the introduction. And in the lower right-hand corner, spawning as our favorite francophone Terran, he is AILILLEKANIN. Now this map, of course, the standard is to, nonetheless, open up with a Reaper opener, and I imagine that's what we'll be seeing AILILLEKANIN going for in the early game, simply based on the premise that this is a very large map. Knowing where your opponent can help you very early on in the game. It can, and on top of that, you want to make sure that your opponent isn't going to stomp you with something that is essentially going to result in a build order loss, or something that could actually delay your natural orbital command center. This is a very ordinary map to do a Reaper opener on. It looks like we're going to have Cannon going for the barracks. Conversely, this is also a very large map, and we could see Cannon get away with things that an unaggressive Zerg would go for in the early game. Maybe as much as going for 3 hatches without a single pool going down. I have seen Jaedong do this versus, I believe it was MMA before, if not, no, I'm sorry, Innovation at one DreamHack or another back in 2013 or 2014. But needless to say, that didn't end very well for Jaedong. He lost a lot of drones in the early game simply due to that one Reaper, and that put him so far behind just in the early game that he wasn't quite able to keep up with the mid game. So we're talking about the 15-minute mark. At points where he should have been teching up, he was simply trying to find an opening in his opponent's, if you will, mineral lines using lings, just trying to get run-bys here and there, trying to find a way to bring himself back in the game, but it never happened, and by the time it came push to shove with Innovation to move out, he had already GG'd out and left. So Cannon's already sending the SCV scout out, which I do appreciate very much. He's going to have a very confident read into what his opponent is going for, and this isn't what I guess you could say is a normal map control into third expo opener that we have coming from Cannon, or coming from Devil rather, and Cannon is able to read into that by simply sending the SCV into the main, seeing both extractors, and getting out with it alive. Conversely, Devil gets over here with his Overlord. I'm surprised the Marine here isn't actually going to poke out and see if there is an Overlord here at this location. Getting pretty close. Just making sure that natural expo is pretty normal, but I mean, he's also looking for that first Overlord, which he just nearly misses. Looks like he will get away with killing it for the most part. There's no saving this one, no. Sacrificial Emo Lord is going to be taken at a time when it should not be taken, and it gets nothing for this. This is actually going to set Devil back quite a bit. At the natural, we do have an economy that needs to get back online for Devil. Of course, he's trying to pick up the slack by making one more Overlord for that one that he just lost on the other side of the map. What's important to note is that not only did this Overlord go down, it didn't get any important information out of it. All he sees right now is, of course, the supply depot. It is supposable, in theory, that perhaps his opponent might have thrown down a command center first, but I mean, I imagine if he was going for that, then he probably would have had vision of it, so never mind, scratch that statement. But he's not able to get a read into the very important timings, like the tech up that's coming right now at this very moment. And to this stage in the game, he hasn't taken any gases at all. He's setting himself up for a slight recipe of destruction, but to his credit, he is going to have quite a few queens. He's going to be able to get the creep spread out a little bit further, a little bit faster. There's no third being taken just yet, so I'm wondering just what his choice is going to be, but it looks like we're going to have Cannon going for some Hellbat drops. Indeed, he's got the medevac on the way. We've got Hellions on the way. The armory is about 20% done, and I'm wondering what this is going to be. It looks like it's something to the tune of the build that we saw Flash pioneer in the GSL sometime back in 2014, I believe. Creep is continuing to be spread, but I mean, this is quite a vulnerable spot to be put in as a Zerg player. Typically, what shuts this down is a significant number of roaches, and we do have a roach warren on the way, so I don't think this is going to result in Devil being killed right out in the middle of the game, but those roaches have got to be on their way right now. There is a baneling nest on their way. There's no defensive units on the way. In fact, there's nothing but drones being made, even though he's already saturated at the natural. This is pretty big. He's not making any units to defend. Just as I say that, he does, as he sees the medevac show up on creep. There are 3 queens at the natural. They need to be microed amazingly in order for this hold to be possible. The baneling nest is going to be focused down, and this is something that's going to hurt, at least in the beginning. There's 7 roaches about to pop. The first one's going to come out and be quite individualized, if you will. There are now 4 queens trying to make their stand against 6 hellbats, and 1 roach does come in from the rear. Now the drone line looks like it's getting roasted. 1 queen has fallen in all of this, and it looks like this might get cleaned up, but it's going to cost a lot of units coming out of Devil. So it looks like he might just hold this, even if just, I wouldn't say just barely, but really rather painfully. 1 more queen remaining at the natural as the other one did fall. Getting away with now 11 workers and quite a few units killed is Cannon quite happy to get away with. That being said, however, he's at a worker deficit in this position. He did not go for a natural orbital command. So what's the plan? I think he could be trying to cause game-ending damage. In fact, one thing that I noticed behind this is that he's going for a Banshee, and on top of that, there's not a whole lot in the way of anti-air here. Yeah, there's a Spore Crawler at each base, but there's not enough queens to supplement this number of roaches. Here we go, 3 Hellions, well, 2 Hellions do get shut down by 3 roaches, and it looks like Queen at the natural will be just fine. Hellbats are looking for that window of opportunity to drop, and the Banshee will be thwarted for the time being. It's not going to dive in there right now in its present state. And there comes the scan just to see what Devil is up to. Now, it's one thing worth noting at this moment that Cannon is basically, he's all in at this point. Oh boy, no, I didn't even notice that. There's a second starport. Here we go. He might be able to just do it outright at this peculiar moment. It only takes 2 Banshees to deal with the Spore Crawler. Banelings are being dealt with right now, but it looks like there's also a rebellion coming from Devil. It's like, I've got to break these cuffs right now, and it looks like he's going to be able to do that. Drone's coming to fight a Hellbat with the aid of a Queen, and it looks like 1 will be dealt with, but the other one's healed up almost completely. There's no saving this Queen, I feel, once that Hellbat gets in there. As I say that, though, the natural looks like it's under quite an annoying siege, and 2 Banshees are still alive. The roaches are coming back here, but what are they accomplishing? 3 more do just pop after the Queen falls at the main. And more Banshees are on the way in the background. I don't think there's enough anti-air here to deal with this if your name is Devil at this moment. Yes, he's got some static defenses, that's fantastic, but this 1 Queen is getting caught off guard. I don't know, he's just missing the most basic things at this point, and although our Terran is at even supply with Devil, I feel like Devil, he doesn't have the anti-air to deal with this. Yes, there are spores, yes, there are queens, but spores can't move. And in theory, we could actually see Cannon go in here and snipe the main, and it looks like he might be trying to go for that. But if that Spire has a chance to complete, it might be a different story. Ooh. 1 Banshee does fall, but for 1 that falls, there will always be 2 more to take its place. This one bravely going straight over the Spore Crawler, and looks like reinforcements will be, for the most part, protected. Oh, he's found a weak spot. Oh boy, if that Spire goes down, we could see Devil in an irrecuperable position. The Spores are now relocating themselves. There was no cancel on that Spire. It is being rebuilt. It's worth noting at this point that Devil is floating a lot in the way of resources, and I believe very soon we should begin to see a little Cannon start to, how do I say this, his resources are going to start going dry later rather than sooner, because he's expending a lot of resources on scans, and there's another weak point in the defense here, if you will. There's not enough Queens to defend here. This one's coming in, trying to get a Banshee, almost does for its time, and now, look at this. This is just crazy annoying is what it is at this point. I believe the Baneling Nest was what was just taken down. That is a lot of Banshees at this location. That is 7 altogether. If we can see... Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no, there's no transfuses. Oh my god. And this is the most painful way to play against Terran. It really is. There's so many resources floating, and Devil is trying so hard to get that Spire back online. In fact, if it wasn't taken down the first time, it would actually be ready to go. But it isn't. And now it looks like the main is in a lot of trouble. Those spores are relocating themselves. And now it looks like he's trying to get some rebellion. He's going straight across the map. Those supply depots are not back up, and this could result in a total base race scenario. We're about to find out. Oh no, there's nothing to defend here. There's no Widow Mines. There's nothing like that. The Banshees look like they might just have to come back and deal with this. Main's being rebuilt. It was destroyed. Oh my god, they got in. And it looks like this could mean all of the SCVs are gone. But what's that? You don't want to base race a Terran. That's right. They have buildings and they can't fly. Now we've got Cannon in a whole hell of a lot of trouble. His supply is going to start plummeting. And now, I mean, the only thing he's going to have to fight with is Banshees. And at this moment, he's going to have to take down that Spire. If he does, it might be the game saver. It's so close. It gets canceled. There's no lair tech, so it can't be rebuilt. This is perhaps the most clutch win I've seen as Terran in a long, long time. But, on the other hand, we cannot ignore the fact that Devil has economy. Cannon does not. What does he do at this point? He's got 3 Banshees. Oh boy. At the natural, okay, a single Hellbat. It's gonna go toe-to-toe with the Queen. Is this GG at the end of the day is the real question. 3 Queens, 2 Queens versus 3 Banshees. Evolution chambers are being targeted down at this point. Cannon's gonna make these Banshees count. That's really what it comes down to. He's got 5 altogether on the map. He's continuing to produce more. He's also continuing to get SCVs out. But it looks like the run-bys are going to continue to happen. He reseals his wall off. But he doesn't have the economy to make any units that can repair this or actually deal with the Zerglings at his front door. So eventually they should be able to break through. If this Banshee doesn't kill all of them. There we go. Supply depot's about to get busted down. But the Lings are just completely ignoring the... There we go. The empty-ish mineral line. Oh my god. Roach Warren. Who's winning this at the end of the day? Well, if that Spire doesn't get rebuilt, the obvious answer would be... The obvious answer would be a little cannon. I don't think he's rebuilt it yet. He's banking a lot of resources. He should know that his opponent... Oh my god, the Banshees. That was it. That was GG. And even Cannon knows it himself. He types it out. Alright, well, I mean, that was somewhat sustainable for a while, but the crucial moment is when the Spire got canceled in this game, guys. Or rather, when it got taken down. But that was a crucial moment for Devil. That's when things swung out of his favor. The one thing that really worked against a little cannon was the Ling run-bys getting into his main and just totally wrecking his mineral line. And of course now, I mean, all there is a couple of units, but they can camp the production. At this point, he could see that the lair was already done. The Spire was going to be rebuilt relatively soon, and that would have ended the game in a nutshell. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Benjamin Breaker Novotny. I will see you guys next time.